City Council special meeting. There is nothing to report, so we are adjourning the meeting as of 6:03. And with that, at 6:03, we are opening up the Selma City Council regular council meeting for January 21st, located at Selma City Council Chambers, 1710 Tucker Street, Selma, California, and also via teleconference from the Renaissance Esmeralda Resort and Spa, San Remo Room, Terrace Level, 400 Indian Wells Lane, Indian Wells, California. Before we have our invocation, I want to talk to the community and say a few words to acknowledge the passing of a person in our community. For those who aren't aware, Larry Raven, who's been a big part of the Selma community, has passed away recently. He had his services the other day. Larry Raven touched a lot of lives and left a big footprint on our community. A lot of families that live in Selma live in homes that he built. So our condolences go out to Penny and the rest of his entire Raven family as they grieve through this time. So I'd like if we just take a few seconds and take a moment of silence for the Raven family and Larry. Okay, with that, we have our invocation led by Shannon Schwab, Associate Pastor of the Church of the Redeemer.
Thank you. Would you bow your hearts with me? Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight, we invite you to be here among us, ever guiding, ever directing, ever speaking to hearts, and filling our minds with the wisdom that comes only from you. Tonight marks the beginning of a new year of governing, planning, growing, and living together as a community. Therefore, may we first and foremost acknowledge you, dear Lord, and the many blessings of life, opportunities, and spiritual growth that we have known. Second, we look to you for the tools our leaders need to govern and the tools the people need to follow as you lead all of us through the challenges and opportunities that lay before us in 2020. May we not rest on our laurels or past successes, nor linger over missteps or failings of yesterday. Rather, help us to move forward in wisdom and in knowledge, with hope, godly purpose, and unity being at the heart of our decisions for the city and citizens of Selma. We ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And also for the record, I don't know if I mentioned it, this is also a joint meeting with the Selma Successor Agency to dissolve the Selma Redevelopment Agency, coinciding with this City Council meeting. So when you hear the roll calls, they'll be both for City Council members and board members.
Yeah. Everybody please stand and face the flag. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Council Member, Board Member Avalos.
Here.
Council Member, Board Member Robertson.
Here.
Council Member and Board Member Trujillo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra, also serving as Vice Chairman Guerra.
Here.
Mayor Franco, also serving as Chairman Franco.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify that item and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not a council member, but I do have to recuse myself and not participate in item 5 on your agenda.
Okay. Okay, noted. We will call you when the items are handled after you recuse yourself.
Very good.
Oral communications, notice to the public. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issue raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. So, is there anyone here wishing to speak? Councilman Trujillo, is there anyone wishing to speak at your location?
No.
Okay. With that, we are going to move on to special presentation. We have introduction of public work maintenance new employees and code enforcement officers.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time to introduce the latest additions to the Public Works Department. First off, I'd like to introduce to you Jerry Lee Fino Jr. Come on down, Jerry. Jerry's 33 years old. He lived in Selma his whole life. Jerry attended Terry Elementary School, Abraham Lincoln Middle School, and graduated from Selma High School in 2004. He's a father of 4, Jerry Jr., 14 years old, Nathan, 13 years old, Charlie, 11 years old, and a daughter, Angelina, who is 6 months old. Jerry considers it truly an honor to raise his children here in Selma. He has coached various sports here in Selma. He did 4 years as a soccer coach, 10 years as a baseball coach, 7 years as a football coach. He was also the president of Selma Youth Football League for 4 years. He has been fortunate and blessed to teach and coach so many great kids in this community. Jerry takes great pride in coaching kids. He is very grateful to be able to work for the city that he loves. He looks forward to many good years working with the city of Selma. Selma is where his heart is. And Jerry's last words on his bio were, he bleeds orange and black, go Bears. Yeah. Jerry Fino. And next up, we have Mr. Anthony Inez. Anthony, come on down. Anthony's 38 years old. He was born in Fresno and raised in Selma. He graduated from Selma Adult School in 2002. Then he attended Reedy College and studied automotive technology. He's a family man who loves to spend time barbecuing and riding quads with his family. He's married to his beautiful wife of 14 years. He is a father of 6, 3 boys, 3 girls, and a proud grandfather to a baby boy. He has worked in construction most of his life. The past year, he worked for the city of Dinuba with the goal to acquire a position here with the city of Selma. I take great pride in introducing to you Jerry Fino and Anthony Inez. Stand by up there. We have one more inductee, and Teresa will take over for that one. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is my pleasure to introduce Juan Mendez, and if you want to come on up, Juan, as well. Thank you. Juan joins our code enforcement team. Juan was actually worked for he joined us in October, and he actually worked for the city of Selma previously in 2018 for 3 months on a temporary basis. And we were so excited because I heard so many good things about him. His reputation in 3 months really made a positive impression in our community and his level of work. So we were very excited when he applied to come work with us full-time permanently with the city of Selma. So we're very happy to have Juan with us. He worked for the city of Sanger in code enforcement for 4 years, and he was also a security officer with a very large organization for 8 years. So welcome, Juan. We're really glad to have you as part of the team.
Yeah. I just want to say on behalf of the council that all 3 of you welcome. The better that we're staffed here at the city, the better the community's going to be served. So I know all of you are going to help just make our city so much better than it already is. So thank you very much for choosing Selma to have your careers.
Thank you.
Okay. Next presentation is Beautification Awards.
Can you turn that on for her? Virginia.
Oh, They bring a big crowd?
Yes, they did.
Good evening. I'm Virginia Lees, the Vice Chair of the Selma District Chamber of Commerce Beautification Committee. And the Selma Beautification Committee receives nominations, and the committee selects businesses and residents of Selma that have redone or added new landscape to enhance the aesthetic value of the area. Before we do these presentations, I would like to everyone knows Bob Allen, the Executive Director of the Selma District Chamber of Commerce, but we have two committee members in the audience tonight, Shar Tucker and Colleen Nelson. Thank you for being here. Okay. This evening, the Beautification Committee is proud to present Selma Beautification Awards to Selma McDonald's for their enhancement of their building and the landscape of their property, and second, to the Selma Union 76 station for their remodel and the landscape improvements. Kevin Delph from McDonald's, will you come forward, please, Kevin? Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We visited your restaurant, and we were so proud of what you've done, and we were very thankful for you being such an important part of the Selma community. Thank you. Is there anyone you would like to recognize in the audience? Do you have any?
Today, we just appreciate everything that you guys do.
Can you
We really
give him the
couldn't do it
microphone?
without your community.
Okay.
We just want to say thank you to you guys. We couldn't do it without your guys' support, and we are very proud to be a part of this community and the community of Selma. So if there's anything that you guys need, you know where we're at, where we're located, so just come on by and give us a call. Thank you.
You're very receptive to people.
Big Mac would be good right now.
Right.
Surprise.
We're hungry. You can make it happen. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much. Again, thank you.
Nuggets.
Thanks.
Whichever way you want to go, you go first. And second, Steve Shahadi from Selma Union 76. Thank you so much for the remodel and the landscape improvements that they're absolutely beautiful. And I have had one person say they drive by and see what you've planted so they know what they want to plant in their yard. You have made an impression. You're a very important part of the Selma community. Thank you so much. Is there anyone also that you would like to call up?
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge my brother Tom Shahadi and our supervisor Richard Schneider. Would you please come up?
Isn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful. We'd just like to thank the City of Selma for this award, and we're proud to be a part of it, of this fine community.
Thank you.
Again, thanks to the city, and we're proud to be a part of this great community. It's a great town, and proud to be a part of it.
You're a very important part of it. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, and thank you, dear.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oops. Here, hon. You pass it around.
You know, what's nice about those two businesses, they're both located right when you come off the exit, and that's the first thing you see at that light is those two businesses. So it's beautification's all our responsibilities, and it's nice when you see the businesses step up to the plate for that. So with that, we are going to move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have any item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council then can approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Would anyone like to have anything removed?
Item D, please.
You said B or D?
D is in dog.
Okay, D. We have item D for removal. Is anything, anyone else, any other?
Make a
Okay.
motion to approve items A through C.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robertson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Avalos.
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Aye.
Mayor Franco.
Aye.
Okay, page 23, 73973. Halfway down the page, Justin Holden taximeter training course. I'm not really interested in the amount here, just the intoximeter. So can law enforcement test now whether people are intoxicated by various substances, not just alcohol?
The intoximeter is a pre-arrest portable alcohol sensor that you use in the field. It's another thing used with your probable cause on a DUI situation. Currently, we did not have anybody still at the department who was certified to test it on our end and make sure it's functioning properly. So he was sent to the training for that purpose so that we can keep using those in the field when we're dealing with a DUI driver.
Thank you. Next page, at the bottom, 74040. This is kind of a follow-up. Frusa, the ambulance billing. Do we know when we're going to start doing the billing since we're taking back the ambulance? Finance Director? Oh, please, Fire Chief.
We have, Isaac and I have looked into several different options in doing that. Right now, we don't have a specific plan to take back the billing. We're still going with Andreas. They've been doing the billing for us and will continue to do the billing even when we do bring it back. There are a couple other options out there that we've looked at too. We're still evaluating whether it be more productive and profitable to switch or to stay where we're at.
Right now on the bad debts, does it cost the city any money to have the billing and have them collect the bad debts and rather than us collecting the bad debts, or do we currently do that?
The bad debts themselves are actually collected by a collection firm. So once it gets past a certain point, fire recovery will not actually hold those obligations. They are directed to give them directly to our firm that can collect those on a more
Frusa
traditional
turns
format.
it over to the debt.
That's correct.
Debt
So
collectors.
they're not really more of a collection agency in that format. They'll make the obligations that we set within the parameters of the contract to collect those terms of the payments. Once they get past a certain point, they're obligated to turn it over to a physical collection firm.
And we don't see a line item on them because they get paid by getting a percentage of whatever.
That's correct. So you would not see a line item for that collection management services. You would only see it if they're actually incurring more expense and then receiving. And the only time you'd actually see that is because they found or identified a payment source where they have to turn it back over to fire recovery to collect those funds. So they'd get a percentage and that would offset. Other than that, you'd get a check for the funds that you receive and they net out.
Okay, so you're just going to do a cost benefit on whether it makes sense to do the billing in-house or keep subcontracting it out to this third party then?
Correct. Our assumption at this point is to work on preparing the process itself for the services performed, maintain that obligation, and start looking as we begin to build, whether it's at the point where we bring everything back or assess bringing everything back. So again, just like we talked previously about bringing back this service, it's more of let's get our toe into it, let's assess it, let's establish the formalities, procedures, and process, and continue to build on the obligation on what we currently have, whether it be increased staffing or creating the billing in-house, or just bringing it to another billing service that we can create a better contract with. So that's all being assessed throughout the process of when we bring the service back.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Chief. Page 25, item 74072, Nelson Properties Tax Sharing Agreement, 11,000. So I thought we were done with the tax sharing agreement with Nelson.
The tax share that's actually being referenced for the 11,000, there's an outstanding contract for an obligation for a bond measure, or a bond that was outstanding, an assessment district, as they call it. Part of the contracts were that we had to pay that obligation until fulfilled, which is still going to be a couple years.
2 years of this every month, or how often will that be due?
Each year.
Each year, so we'll see this.
So you'll see it for at least another 2 years, I want to say. The obligation, which is actually the 2014 assessment bond, is almost completely paid off.
Okay, and my last one would be, next page, 74094, Surveillance Integration, Video Surveillance Protection Plan and Pioneer Village Camera Installation. So who monitors that? Is that PD?
For the Pioneer Village?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's monitored through dispatch of the police department. So if it's like a sensor, so obviously if the camera goes off at night, then it's going to send a motion detection to the dispatch and they'll monitor it. It also has a speaker so they can actually hear noises out there. We've had some vandalism with broken windows and things, so this is our way of to try to cut down on our vandalism expenses.
Okay, so this should reduce the vandalism and the expense to the city fixing the vandalism.
Yes.
Or this cost, thank you.
And just for a note, there's also, that's 2 invoices. The full cost of the Pioneer Village is more like 5,000 or 6,000 for that camera, correct, Mike?
The Pioneer Village came out to about 5,300.
Okay.
Oh, okay. What's the other part?
Protection plan for the current equipment we have in place.
Like a warranty plan?
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah, some of it's starting to get aged and things of that nature, so an agreement was entered into previously to be able to maintain that service and make sure they're up to date.
Thank you.
Okay, and I got a couple of them too. Page 23, and it is check number 73964, and it says Government Revenue Solutions, Star Services, second quarter for $500. What is that?
That is what was formerly called Muni Services. They do our sales tax analysis. A part of their contract as well is actually to go out to make sure that we're receiving all the allotted funds that are supposed to be. For example, if a business in the city of Selma is doing, is not collecting its sales tax or reporting it correctly, there'll be adjustments, so they go out and do some of the services as well. That's part of their contract.
And we use them just quarterly?
It's a quarterly payment for their services. So the 2 things that they do is, one, they do a sales tax format that they give us, one to be able to budget and things of that nature and forecast out, and they also do that auditing component as well. So that is a quarterly payment of $500.
Okay. And then on page, let's go to, okay. Yeah. Page 25, check number 74060, and that's for Cash Environmental, Inc. And that's, I know that's for the police station, because it says process payment for the police station, $766,494.75. Now, my question is, do we have a year-to-date payout? We'd like to know what the year-to-date amount is.
For Cash's contract?
For Cash's contract. And are we on schedule with the police station to be completed?
We can bring that out or back to you and give you that
Okay.
analysis.
I forgot one, I'm sorry, 74056. You're done, Mayor Pro
Yes.
Tem? 74056, Employment Ad Community Development Director. Guess I just have a question. Is this, the ad here is for December, but then if you go to page 28 of the Cal card, there's another one for under governmentjobs.com that was on November 15th. Is that an ongoing recruitment for the Community Development Director?
It's not ongoing, but those were ads that were placed for that process.
Oh, okay. The deadline, though, to submit applications
Has passed now.
has passed, and you're evaluating those applications and doing the interviews right now?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Did I make a motion to approve item D?
And I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robertson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garrett.
Aye.
Councilmember Avalos.
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Aye.
Mayor Franco.
Aye. Item 2, public hearing. Appeal of conditional use permit 2019-0016, consideration of a conditional use permit to allow sale of beer and wine at 1702 Second Street, Selma, California, and notice of exemption regarding the same.
Thank you, Mayor Franco. Council members. The item that you see before you this evening is an appeal to an application for a conditional use permit, 2019-0016. The request was for the allowance of the sale of beer and wine, a type 20 alcohol beverage license at 1702 Second Street. The request was made by Lion Builders. This item is continued from a previous public hearing. It was heard by the council in October, but it was continued. And the direction given to staff during that hearing was to ask the Planning Commission to look into amending the code. So the municipal code as it stood had density requirements precluding establishments less than 15,000 square feet from selling alcohol if they were packaged alcohol, I'm sorry, if they were within 500 feet of a school and 300 feet of a park. And in this case, from another business. And in this case, that was the case. So that's why Planning Commission needed to deny the project, and then it was appealed to you. And since that hearing, the Planning Commission and the council has since amended the code. The code now includes some exceptions for when those density requirements can be changed, or when you can allow packaged alcohol sales within those density requirements, where previously those allowances were not given. If you keep going, if council is interested, I do have keep going past the recommendation. I do have, so this is how the code was originally, and then the next two slides show the addition of the new code, just for refresher in case you needed any part of that referenced. But staff has prepared a staff report for your review, and this evening, council's options, there are three. The first would be to uphold the Planning Commission's denial. The second would be to reverse that denial, therefore approving the project, and in that case, findings would need to be made from this section here as to why the council has chosen that decision. And the third choice is to modify their decision, but in this case, because it was a denial, there wouldn't be any modification that would change that decision. And if you have any questions, staff is happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions, guys? John, you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to open it to the public. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? All right. Since there's saying no members wishing to speak on this matter, I'm going to bring it back to council.
Okay, so in terms of the legality on this, D, if I'm understanding it correctly, the council can overturn the denial of the Planning Commission by citing D, that denying it would place the proposed facility at a competitive disadvantage to the existing non-exempt facility.
Excuse me, that's part of what goes into the process. If you look at page 40 of your packet, you will see the required findings for a CUP permit. If you reverse the Planning Commission, you're required to issue a resolution that makes findings. We haven't provided you with a resolution because we don't know which direction you're going to go into. You have 40 days after today's date within which to come up with that resolution. And what we would do is we would listen to what the council deliberates on and what decision it makes, and we would craft the appropriate resolution and bring it back to your next meeting for adoption, which is within that 40-day time frame. So you see the findings there are very easily met, and there's only really one question here. The streets are adequate, the site is adequate, it conforms to your general plan. The only question is whether or not the proposed use will have an adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius of this project. And the proposed use in this case, because this is a very, very specific CUP, is very specific. You've got to determine whether or not there's any adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius of this convenience store by virtue of the sale of beer and wine. Because that's all this CUP is for. So that pretty much ties into the amendment you made to section 11-8-10, the relevant part of which is reproduced at page 39 of the staff report. And you can see there that the city council on an appeal can make a determination to grant the conditional use permit, in other words, allow the sale of beer and wine by examining whether or not there's any adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius of this use. And it suggests to you that you can make a number of conditions if you see fit, one of which is limiting the display area to 10% or more of the business, the total area of the business. But basically what you're looking at is whether or not allowing the sale of beer and wine will have an adverse effect on property that is within that 300-foot radius by virtue of the fact that it might increase the incidence of public drinking or even irresponsible drinking, such as drinking and getting back in the car. So that's really the question. And I don't know that allowing sales of beer and wine from this particular location would or would not increase the incidence of public drinking or irresponsible drinking or anything like that, simply because I'm a lawyer, and the first thing you learn as a lawyer is that you can never predict and you can never foresee. And it's utter speculation to think that you can tell whether or not somebody is going to engage in activity that is illegal. And in this particular case, once the person comes to the convenience store and leaves this fellow's parking lot, and there are a number of conditions that are still required by our existing ordinance as amended. That the parking lot's got to be well lit, it's got to be visible from the store and everything else. Once that person leaves this guy's parking lot, he has no control over what he does. And I think you'd simply be speculating to conclude that just because you're allowing beer and wine to be sold from this location, that there's going to be an increase in public drinking simply because that is illegal, and you can't really predict whether or not somebody's going to engage in illegal misconduct. So, just looking at it in the abstract, there's nothing in the abstract that would suggest to anybody that there is an adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius. You've received no testimony of any adverse effect befalling any of the property within that radius. So I think you would be well within the parameters of your amended resolution and the other ordinances that govern CUPs if you found that there is no adverse effect on property within that 300-foot radius. And you could also determine that the allowance of that activity from that location is something that promotes the public convenience, which is a consideration that you're allowed to take into account. With respect to all but one of the considerations that are listed there in items A through D, you really haven't got much evidence to direct you in one direction or another. What is virtually certain, however, is that this proposed convenience store is within 500 feet of a different convenience store that sells alcoholic beverages. And that if this person is engaged in pretty much the same activity or the same business as that business, and you are the type of person who is going to buy your six-pack on the way home after you get gas in your car at the convenience store, you're going to go to the convenience store that sells beer. So that presumably puts him at a competitive disadvantage to the business that I think is just down the street from him. And this is, the location of this place is right there off of the off-ramp along
Second Street off-ramp. Yeah.
Second Street. So it's in your commercial zone, and there's nothing to suggest that there is any adverse effect on property within 300 feet. So I think that you can make all of these findings that are listed on page 40 of the staff report. And I would suggest to you that in addition to that, you need to include a number of conditions. Some of these are just standard conditions. I have a list of them, there's about 7 or 8 of them. Very general stuff, things like he's indemnifying and protecting us against any liability that befalls the city by virtue of us approving this conditional use permit. He's required to initiate the conditional use permit, in other words, build the convenience store within a year. He's required to confirm that he agrees with all of the conditions. He is required to observe all of the provisions of the Selma Municipal Code. Several standard provisions that you would find in any conditional use permit that is issued by this city. In addition to that, because it's a conditional use permit for sale of alcoholic beverages, you are required to impose the conditions relating to operational security, store interior visibility, parking lot lighting, and post on the property that the consumption of alcoholic beverages and loitering is not permitted on that property. All of those conditions are listed right there in the ordinance. So if the council were to find that the planning commission simply denied this conditional use permit simply because its hands were tied, it was required to, and that since the ordinance has been since revised to allow exceptions from those requirements, and that the council has examined the factors that are set forth in 1116-4 of your municipal code, and has determined that all of the conditions necessary for issuance of a conditional use permit are present, and the conditional use permit can be issued.
Thank you, Neil. So,
Mr.
Just-
Mayor,
go
may I
ahead.
ask a quick clarifying question? Is it possible that if the council would like to direct us to proceed with a resolution, that we would not have to bring it back, that they could give us that direction as well?
You can do that, and you can do that basically by letting me recite what the resolution would say and authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution that is substantially in that form.
And I just bring that up for the applicant and that process of timing.
Would that be in consent, or would that, it just wouldn't appear anymore? The mayor would sign it, and that would be that?
The mayor would sign it, and that would be it.
With all of those conditions?
With all of those conditions, and basically, if you went the way I'm more or less suggesting to you, the resolution would just say this: whereas the planning commission denied the application on whatever date it denied it, the council amended the ordinance under which the planning commission relied upon to deny the application, to allow for exceptions to the density requirement that stopped them from granting this conditional use permit, that the council has received the record of the proceedings before the planning commission and has considered all evidence and testimony that has been presented to the council at this hearing, and that the council therefore finds that the site is adequate in size and shape to accommodate the proposed use, and other requirements of subdivision A of section 11-16-4 of the Selma Municipal Code have been met, that the streets and highways are adequate in width and pavement type to carry the quantity and kind of traffic that will be generated by the proposed use, that the proposed use will have no adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius, that any conditions included within the conditional use permit are necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, and that the proposed use is consistent with the general plan and applicable land use components thereof, and the conditional use permit is therefore granted, and it would include a exhibit that would list all of these conditions that I've mentioned. And if you want to include a condition, you don't have to. That limits the display area for alcohol, you can do that. But if you don't do that, what would be included as conditions on the exhibit that is attached to the resolution would simply be the general conditions that I recited for you previously, together with those that are set forth in 11-8-10 of the Selma Municipal Code, beginning at subdivision one A.
Are there any conditions based on the hours of operation?
First of all,
When it can be sold?
Well,
That's-
that is controlled by state law.
Okay.
You can only sell alcoholic beverages after 6 a.m., I think.
Yeah.
62 a.m.
And you have to
Well, you know,
stop at
Scott,
2
you know,
a.m.
we talked about this before. It's this new Chevron station, basically what it is. And before, in the past, there was a grocery store before that did sell beer and wine there a long time ago. As they, they tore it down, this gas station is going to be brand new, like the 76 station, and it's come off the Second Street, and it's a good idea to spruce the area up a little bit. It hasn't been spruced for a while, and I'm okay with the alcohol and beer and wine situation, given that permit.
Did I hear them say when they were here that they're also going to put in an office? They're going to put in a couple of offices?
They have
Next
they
to it.
have a site plan already approved,
Yeah.
Can we see that, Neil?
and
Or
It'll
do we
be-
have a?
It's up, it's up.
Oh, that what it, okay.
Yeah.
I want to see.
But
This is the office building that's proposed.
Okay.
The entire
And is that
site
the,
plan
to the
is
north, or what,
It'd be,
where's the office building, to the north, south, east, west?
I think it's going to be more to the park,
Right, to be the
Correct,
north,
towards
huh?
the park. That would be
to the park area.
the east.
The
Okay.
east.
That would be
on the other
east.
side.
Okay.
Yeah. There's an alley that separates the two properties. They are different parcel numbers.
If you see that big tree, Scott, is it?
No, I know
yeah,
exactly where
that's-
it's the two empty lots there.
I think if you pull up the aerial, you might be able to. It's going to be at the very beginning.
You could see the gas station would be on one end, and
Yeah.
then the office would be on the other
There's
side of
one.
the drive.
It's the two gas stations across the street from each other. and
So
cul-de-sac.
phase one is in red,
Right.
and that's the gas station and convenience store. And phase two is in orange, and that is the office building.
Okay.
So those were both approved through site plan review because those are permitted uses in the zone. So the design and location of the buildings has already been approved administratively by planning. The alcohol use requires a discretionary action, and that's why that was brought forward to Planning Commission and then City Council through the appeal.
I'm okay with that too.
I'll make the motion to approve the sale and permit of the beer and wine with the conditional permit category that.
according to the
to
resolution that I've attempted
Yeah,
to
potential
recite.
setup,
And I'll second it.
yeah.
I'm sorry, may I speak really briefly? Are we still allowed to make comments?
We closed that
We
part
closed it
already.
already.
Right, but that was before you guys
Right.
started
Well,
to
we
set
haven't,
the
oh,
resolution, so we can't add anything now?
we haven't opened up back up comment in a minute.
So you will before you vote?
We're going to discuss, and then we'll open it back up for a public. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. So any further discussion?
I mean, I think we heard it, we have a second, so we could
Yeah.
discuss it. I mean, it's at a competitive disadvantage right now, not being able to have beer and wine in
Yeah.
that location. There are already other locations doing that right now. In that location, it would provide the public with another outlet for that. It's close to 99. There's not a public outcry against it that I've heard.
Yeah, because,
So,
I look at, Scott, I also look at
can't see a
the,
huge objection to it.
the Star Market. The Star Market right across from Washington School. That's only about 25 feet from the school.
Right.
There was
And
a
there's another
second
store right
already,
next to
and now
it, behind
there's
it,
discussion.
and that's less than another 25 feet from the school, and that has beer and wine too.
No.
So,
Okay.
Dr. Estrella?
Does Councilman Trio have a comment?
Councilmember Trujillo, did you have a comment? Or did you just want to confirm that there was a second?
Yeah, I just want to confirm there was a second.
Okay,
Yeah,
no
okay,
comment from Councilmember
Okay,
Trujillo.
well, we're all, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to open back to the public so you can make your comment now.
6:52.
Thank you, Paula Rogers. I'm a citizen here in Selma. I used to work with substance abuse programs for the county of Fresno, and a lot of our collaborative efforts involved going out to locations that are near school facilities or other areas where children are nearby to limit the amount of signage and advertisement on the front windows of stores because, as we all know, substance abuse is also intertwined with mental abuse and other issues that cause a lot of harm to people. So while we're looking at this facility and a resolution, would it be possible to include in it something that the city attorney mentioned so that it could prevent further work from advocates that are working on behalf of children to include the amount of signage that can be on the front window? Because if we get preventative and we do that upfront, then we save a lot of work later on, and we're also able to advocate that as a city, we're thinking about the children up front instead of waiting until later on when someone gets hurt and then we have more crime in the city. And I'm not trying to say that this particular one center is going to bring that because crime can be exacerbated by the number of facilities that sell alcohol, but it's a way to be preventative and try and look out for our kids at the same time.
And isn't there an ordinance already on the books?
Yeah.
There's limiting the ads to
Yeah.
15%.
There
at the
is.
storefront.
There is.
And that's also for public safety, so the PD can see in there. But
Okay,
it's
so it would be
also
included with this
To limit
one?
the
Yeah.
advertising.
There's already an
so kids
ordinance.
don't see it.
Perfect.
And that
Thank you.
ordinance, by
Thank
the
you.
way, was developed by the Fresno
Thank-
County Department of Public Health.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, with that, we're going to bring it back to close public hearing, bring it back to council. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Avalos?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Robertson?
Aye.
Mayor Franco?
Aye. Okay, regular business, item 3. Okay, council request to discuss business loans for a facade improvement loan program. City Manager Gallivan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is a council request from Councilmember Robertson to discuss the concept of business loans for a facade improvement loan program. Actually, I think the discussion was for also considering grants, but we did look into the potential funding sources, and loans are something we could not give out a gift of public funds with the certain funding source that we're considering here, and I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But let me start off with the facade improvement program would be to provide a loan program for businesses that might want to improve their frontage with landscaping or awnings or improve signage typically, and there is a way that the city could bring such a thing forward. It seems like it would be in alignment with the city council's priorities for beautification, revitalization of downtown, elimination of blight. It would be a way to assist businesses with making these types of improvements. We could do it in the same sort of format that we did the nuisance abatement loan program, where we have a revolving loan fund that we would set aside. We could use the same fund that we used for the nuisance abatement program, which was the transit fund. We could do, say, another $25,000 that could be set aside, and an amount could be designated to assist businesses and sort of matching them in their effort to make some improvements to the frontage of their business. So because of that funding source, it would need to be a loan. It could be a no-interest loan with a minimal fee like we did with the other program. If you're interested in doing that, we can work up a report to bring back to you to approve an ordinance approving such a program. I would ask in your discussions if you consider, do you want that to be in a very specific geographic area or throughout the city to any businesses, or do you want to use it to incentivize the revitalization of downtown specifically? So some of the things, Councilmember Robertson, I know this was your request, so perhaps.
Thank you. I just think that, we've heard that Selma isn't what it used to be, doesn't look good, it's losing ground. This is a way to regain that ground by starting with our downtown, making it look better, by rehabilitating it and giving our business owners and building owners financial incentive to do so. Our downtown is improving slowly but surely. In steps. An example, August, a group of us, business owners and residents, we got together to put up lights on High Street between First and Second Street. We had Mayor Pro Tem Guerra, her husband Armando. We had Tabitha and Johnny Valdez, the city manager, and her husband Mark Alves, Public Works Director Shane Farrell. And Rose and I, my wife Rose and I, we got together and spent a Sunday, and Bob Allen and the chamber bought the lights for us very generously. Thank you. We got together and it was a small thing, but look how nice it looks. It's something where we had an issue downtown. We're trying to make it look nicer, and we're not relying on some vast bureaucracy, out of the city somewhere else. It's us. It's community action, using government to help us, empower us to do what needs to be done in our city. And we've done it over and over again in Selma, and I really think it has improved the visibility in the area. It's improved safety at night. People can see better down there. It's made it more shopper-friendly, which will bring in sales tax. And another aspect of downtown that's improving is the Lincoln Park, which is steadily becoming a veterans park. And I think that'll bring visitors here. It'll bring people off Second Street. People will be able to see that when they come in off Second Street. And so what's missing here? I think what's missing is some financial incentive for folks who have buildings downtown who need a little extra push to paint their buildings or make improvements to their structure, which will, in the end, increase the appeal of downtown. I'm fully open to expanding the scope of that, but I just suggested downtown to start with because, it's the area of Selma that's Selma. You can go in other areas and in other retail areas, and they're amazing. They bring in sales tax. We really need them, and we honor them and thank them. But what makes Selma? I think it is the downtown. You can't reproduce that anywhere else. That's where you're in Selma. So I think it's especially important to take a look at downtown and try to bring it back. And I think this fund, which will really be at no risk to the city because it will be on a loan basis, I think it should be generous repayment terms, and I don't think it should be a small interest or maybe none other than the administration fee to do this, to encourage folks like, local developer who's, buying up property downtown and trying to bring back downtown to make it more habitational friendly and more
Right.
business friendly, which will in the end make our city a better place to live and work in.
I have a question, Teresa. When you're stating like the facade, is that going to include the pavement? Will it include paint? Will it include sidewalk?
So we can define that. Typically, it would be anything that the property owner would be able to improve. So if they don't own the building, they would need permission, obviously, from the owner to, if the tenant is doing this, it could include landscaping, could include paint typically. It could include some minor construction or alterations or window coverings or signage.
Sure.
I think if you're talking about the sidewalk, I think depends on whose property we're talking about.
Okay. Because there are a few business owners and that have brought it to my attention as well and stated that they would like to, and they'd be happy to do like a color coordination. And Joan Nelson, that has a business and is very talented in doing that type of work, said she would be willing to offer her services. And then Bill Pruwall, that is also a business owner downtown and a building owner, said he has contractors that would come out and he didn't mind if he could go around and give us a bid on what it would cost to do the paint. So there are business owners and property owners that are willing to take the initiative and do that for us or for the city.
And typically, the way I've seen this program work in other places is that it is an agreement, we have a loan agreement, and it is the property owner or the tenant that actually contracts out and handles the project management. So the city is not the project manager, we are the loan agent providing the matching loan. With that said, they have to, so just to kind of clarify that.
Of course, be a licensed individual.
I'm gonna, it's a good point.
Hold on, Jim, hold on. Before you spoke,
Let her-
Councilman Troilo asked to speak. My apologies.
Okay,
Go ahead, John.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. So the question I have is, it was brought to our attention in regards to the economic development or the facade. The question I have is, I heard the city manager state that she thinks that this project is, or how it's going to be operated, and the question I have is, from the time that the city, or we talked about this, has our city staff done any research in regards to how they would implement this project? Who would be in charge of implementing this project in the city staff? And is staff recommending or thinking that if we are going to use public funds, we have to do overall because it's the overall city, not just the particular area? That's one. Number two is, will the people that will be constructing or working on the facades, will they be business owners from the city of Selma, or will they be out And is that a policy or a thought in your mind, Teresa, as you create this policy?
Thank you, all good points. And so, yes, we have thought about how we could implement it, and it could be done. It is a revolving loan program that we are suggesting we would do this as, and it would be done much in the same way as the nuisance abatement program, with finance administering the loan, again, matching what the business owner or the tenant would also be putting into it. As far as whether or not we have to do the whole city, or if we can pick a particular area, and I will ask the city attorney to opine on this, but my understanding is if we want to pick a particular area to incentivize for revitalization or something like that, as long as we make it very clear what the basis for that is, we can do that.
Can indeed.
Thank you. The city attorney has confirmed that that is correct. And as far as if you would like to, we can add some terms. I believe that they be local vendors if, however, the business, we are doing the
It would
loan.
have to be used in Selma, right? The money would have to be used in Selma.
Yes, the
on a Selma
business
structure.
would need to be, that would be improved, would need to be in Selma.
That's part of the question I have, because you're saying we're just going to be the loaner, but at the end of the day, it is public funds, and you're saying that they could go get the contractor and they can go get this. But we're the ones that are going to facilitate this. That's why I'm saying that it's kind of like we're putting the carriage before the horse. And what I was wondering is, and I appreciate that my fellow councilor Robertson brought this up, because I also have two businesses in downtown, and I also am the one investing the money. But there's 90% of the businesses there that don't own the buildings. And so what I'm asking is, I would love for us to actually table it, move it, this discussion, or actually get our city staff into getting, because right now we're bombarded. We don't have enough staff members to facilitate what we got going on right now. So I would love for you to give a presentation back to us and tell us, who's going to be in charge, what are the guidelines, and what are the parameters. That's just what I thought.
Councilman Trio, there's no action item being taken tonight, just discussion, so no decision is going to be made on this
Other than
discussion.
Oh, okay.
the city manager to move forward and do the study.
Right. Jim, you had a question?
Yeah.
I mean, a comment, sorry.
Yeah. But she said earlier that look into the facade situation and the improvement of loans and how to be carried out. It's true. Back in the days, Selma did have a facelift. It did improve their business. And back in I was born in this town. I didn't get very far, apparently. I was born in a hospital over here, not too far. Now it's a rest home. Probably going that way as I get older. But back then in the days, they had music downtown. Believe it or not, we had the old clock, everything, and we did do a makeover back in the past, and it did help the community in downtown area. To look at the makeover, Johnny's right. I think we should have a look at it for everybody, not just, but it has to be in the city of Selma. And I'd like to see both sides, not the downtown, but on the other side of the side over there, where the police station. But I see the old feed store. He put a mural up. That's fantastic. He used his own money and improved his business. And that told me right there, hey, you know what? It is time. It is time to invest in our downtown area.
The common denominator on this
to help the economy in our city of Selma.
Business related, and
Yeah.
it will help business. It'll help commerce, to help people who are trying to make their buildings look better, to attract commerce and to
Yeah.
attract customers to our
'Cause we
city,
have
rather than them going to the city to the south or the city to the north. We do need to get to speakers, and I think we do need to get to, an enterprise zone for the downtown, but I think right now this is a good step that we can do
Well-
concretely with funds that we have, putting the city at no financial risk.
Yeah,
and taking
yeah,
a real
no
step
financial
forward.
risk, but
It
look at
also lets
it.
developers know we're open for business,
Yeah.
and we want to help. We want to be part of the.
Because, if you look at downtown with the investments we have, we have the concert in the park, we have the events in our park, we should spruce our community up a little bit better. Other communities are doing it, you know, not just
Look at
us.
the lights, you know, and
The lights
visible out
made a
there.
big difference.
Really nice.
So, I mean, we are moving in the right direction. I think we should, Teresa will come back to us with some, how would I say, loans and
Some specifics.
programs and improvements,
You know, and
how
who
to
can
do
apply
this.
for it, and I mean, it, you
As a
know,
group, we'll look at it as a workshop.
does it have to be a Selma resident? Does it not have to be a Selma resident? I mean, we're going for making the buildings look better, so why would that matter? But, you know, we do need to nail down these specifics.
Well,
so
maybe
you come back.
preferred. So, okay, I think we enough talking, we're all in agreement on this. But I just have a few comments. So if we're gonna look after revitalization as part of one of our requirements or possible use of this, doesn't that qualify us to take some of our CDBG funding and perhaps use that as also a funding source for this?
That could be a future use for this,
Right.
absolutely. We are committed for the next 2 years
Yeah,
with
but it's
other
not to
projects,
say in the
but
future, we don't take a small percentage of that out to help fund this.
Yes.
And then we also, when you come back, because right now we're just talking without any structure. So we just, maybe tell us what's our target audience? Is it those businesses that have been hit with code enforcement violations? You know, perhaps they say, hey, you come use this? Or, because sometimes it's not the business, it's the landlord who refuses to do the repair that the business owners run. I mean, there's a few cases of that.
Right.
And then, how are we going to monitor this program to make sure it's being maximized or being used? How are we gonna outreach our target audiences? But I see the merit in this. I see why Councilman Robertson brought it up. I see why we're all in agreement because, you know what, beautification starts everywhere. And like the downtown should be one of our showcase areas in our community. And we want to do all we can to make it, you know, presentable as much as possible. We want to give it the wow factor. So I think we're in agreement to have the city manager bring a structured program back to us that we could think about and then, you know, approve and stuff like that. But what kind of dollar amounts, are we going to need? We need loans that are going to make a difference, you know, stuff like that. We don't want to give a dollar amount for $1,500 dollar amount and the average repair is $4,000 or $5,000.
if it's matching, that still might be reasonable, but let us look into that and
Make
bring
compare with
something
other
back.
cities and stuff, see what they're doing.
Yeah, we can see what other cities are doing and bring back a staff report in the future if it sounds like we have consensus to work on this further. So thank you for your input.
All right. Okay. Item 4, council authorization, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit a letter of request for the state budget request for Senator Hurtado's office.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Senator Hurtado is asking for any requests that we may have for the state budget appropriation by the end of this week. She's asking all of her constituencies for those. So as part of that, we need a letter authorizing us to submit the projects. So staff had brought to council in October and I have a handout that was given to you. In October, the city council approved a list of City of Selma infrastructure needs. It's a couple pages. And this was approved as the document that we would use when we talk to legislators about funding needs for the City of Selma. And there were 3 areas that council chose as priorities, one being city facilities. They're not in a particular order. City facilities, interchanges, overpasses, and sewer extension replacements. So staff went through this list, and based upon the discussions that we had with our consultants, we are recommending that we move forward with 4 requests to the senator, one being for the new fire station, 2 to continue or finish the police station construction project, Also, the stormwater, Valley View Basin Stormwater Drain Project, to request funding for the completion of that project, and then for the Danuba Sewer Main. These were projects that we felt there is a higher likelihood of us having success and getting some traction for the state appropriation for the funding through the state budget process. And in particular, when it came to the sewer extension, the Danuba Avenue one stood higher in our perspective because of the potential connection to affordable housing, and that is a state priority. So again, thinking about some of the state concerns and things that may be also of importance to the senator when it came to the, for example, the stormwater project. We did get funding, partial funding for that project to do phase one, but we would like to request the remaining funds to actually complete the project, which is about a $4 million project. So we're still about 2.5 short. For the police station, as you're all aware, we have the 2.8 million that we would like, if we were able to get that funding, we could go ahead and reimburse ourselves from the ambulance fund. And then the fire station, we've had several discussions about the fact that we need to improve our response rate, particularly in the northwest portion of the city. And as we grow, that's going to become even more imperative. So, I just staff would like your authorization so that I can go ahead and sign a letter and get those submitted.
Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, this is something that we've been working on. It started back with Councilman Robertson, and just of lately, me and Mayor Pro Tem Guerra met. So basically, to put it in layman's term, we feel these are our best odds of getting something appropriate.
Yes.
All right. Okay, any comments, Council?
So where's Arambula? Didn't you guys meet with the Arambula office too?
We
So
did.
where's Arambula? What are we requesting for
Well,
Arambula?
first of all,
Is that a different agenda item? Is that going to come back to us as another agenda item?
I think he's on the Senate.
hold on, guys. Hold on. Senator Hurtado is the only one refishing her official request. The Assemblyman Arambula is still not asking for official request this time, and he's still in talks with us of what he feels the best thing he could help us with.
So when is his deadline for his request? When does he go to the state for budget? Is it to 7/1? It's like January
Right.
already. When is their deadline to make their requests at the state level?
I can go ahead and follow up, but I have not heard of a hard deadline that the Assemblyman has requested. But we did have a tour with the Assemblyman and prepared several items and showed him several items based upon
'Cause
this.
this looks really good. It's just, you
Okay.
know, I hope we don't
No,
ignore Arambula. you know.
we shared the exact same list with him. He's just not asking for an official letter on our
Has
behalf.
he said whether or not he will duplicate and ask on his side for the same things, or will he go off in
Well-
another direction and ask for different items?
That's what we're gonna, he's gonna talk with Hurtado's office to see, do they need to support one thing to get one thing for Selma, or perhaps we have the option of getting one from the senator and something else from the Assemblyman.
Okay, so we'll be seeing this, something similar with Arambula's office
yeah.
in the future.
He basically stated that we have a better chance going through Melissa Hurtado because she has a deadline and she's requesting it. So because she's requesting it, he felt that it'd be better to go through her until he can
Yeah.
So she
meet
she
with
goes
her.
first, and then he
Yeah.
goes
If
after
he
that.
meets
Yeah.
with her, then she can say, he can say, well, this is what possibly Selma can get, and if hopefully we get it, then he can say, this is what we have left over possibly, and Selma can go for this, and
Just
then
want
go
to make
through
sure
him.
we're staying in touch with the Arambula's office
Yeah.
to make sure
Yeah.
that they're moving forward on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so do we have is this an action item? Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve this letter?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Avalos?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Robertson?
Aye.
Mayor Franco?
Aye. Okay. We're coming to item 5, and we will retrieve you when we're done. You need a break?
Let the record
Okay.
state
We're going to adjourn for a quick 3-minute break.